This kid's body bloodline is full of its essence. In Chiyu's palace, she whispered to herself softly, investigating the movement from the attic more and more intently. As one of the top 10 lords, of course she would not run to watch the battle like Shan Qingla and Yu Shang. It would really be too cheap to do so, but with her powerful spiritual mind, it is not a problem to peep in secret without being worried of being discovered. To be honest, Jiang Kai's battle with Shui Lian really made her feel bright. Who is Shui Lian? That is the son of the Blood Flood Dragon Lord, the successor cultivated by the Blood Flood Dragon Lord, and the future master of the Blood Flood Dragon. With the powerful cultivation level of Third Order Void Return stage, he failed to defeat Jiang Kai. If Jiang Kai can fight evenly against the ordinary Third Order Void Return stage, then he is already a heaven-defying talent, but the opponent is Shui Lian. She didn't expect that Jiang Kai, as a human race, could actually force Shui Lian to display the body of the dragon in the battle of physical strength. Even the strong in the monster races, few people can do this. Jiang Kai as a human race did it. This kind of thing has never happened on Monster Emperor Mountain. The human race cultivator of Monster Emperor race are suppressed by the monster race, and their training resources are scarce. Even the Void Return stage is extremely scarce, not to mention that someone can face the son of the Blood Flood Dragon. Caillou's expression was shocked, and she seemed to be a little scornful, not seeing Jiang Kai's true power. It's just, she don't know what his accomplishments in other fields are. If his overall strength is really good, it is enough to match Shan Qingla, then it is not impossible to accomplish this good deed by himself. In this way, not only can Shan Qingla be relieved but also a powerful booster can be gathered, which is like killing two birds with one stone. After the incident of Bahi 200 years ago, Chui no longer dared to be too strict to oppose similar things. She was afraid of causing Shan Qingla's disgust, or making her follow Bahi's mistakes again. I hope you won't let this palace master down. Thinking like this in her mind, Chui hid her divine consciousness around the battlefield, paying attention to the movement there. Outside the attic, Jiang Kai frowned and looked at Shui Lian weirdly. Shui Lian at this moment is hideous and terrifying, and the exposed skin is covered with blood-red scales, and the body is full of red light. With a high fighting spirit, he saw all the different colors on Jiang Kai's face, and laughed. Human race, are you afraid? If you are afraid, now it is too late to beg for mercy. Are you only talking big words? Jiang Kai curled his lips, the weird expression on his face became stronger. The moment when Shui Lian displayed the body of the Blood Flood Dragon, Jiang Kai felt a force in his body about to move, as if it wanted to rush out of his body without his control. This surprised him extremely. After figuring out what kind of power would cause this situation, he was relieved again. Jiang Kai didn't let the mysterious power erupt but suppressed it, and his body was suddenly filled with multicolored light, and the 5 colors rays of light was wrapped around him as if it were spiritual. Wandering constantly, Jiang Kai's already strong imposing manner, soaring instantly. What is this? He was shocked, craned his neck and looked at Jiang Kai. Damn, he really didn't use his full strength. This guy is too scary, right? Yu Shang's eyes were about to come out, with an incredible expression on his face. Mitian, who watched the battle in the distance, was also shocked. He thought that Shui Lian displayed the body of the Blood Flood Dragon, and Jiang Kai could only lose. But he didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Jiang Kai actually used a magical secret technique to increase his strength. Human race's secret technique, really broad and profound. He was very excited, and stared at Jiang Kai without blinking, as if trying to figure out the magical effect of that colorful light. The 5 rays of light are distinct in color. Gold, blue, white, red, yellow, are intertwined and entangled with each other, exuding 5 different aura. But these 5 auras blended together perfectly, without the slightest sense of abruptness. 5 elements indestructible sword chi. Jiang Kai can have extremely high attainments in physical strength. Firstly, he was originally good at it, and secondly, he took a lot of life growth wine cream and created a large amount of pure golden blood, which is full of vigorous vitality. and the 5 elements indestructible sword she cultivated has raised his physical strength to a higher level. This is an amazing set of body tempering cultivation technique. When Jiang Kai cultivated it, he chose the 5 elements treasures to be of extremely high grade, and the effect of cultivation was naturally significant. Today's 5 elements indestructible sword is already at a small accomplishment, and it can be used against the enemy. Looking at Jiang Kai, who was covered by the colorful light, Shui Lian was stunned for a moment, but soon he laughed and smirked. Okay, human race, it seems that you have also used the bottom of the box. Then see who is stronger between you and me. When the words fell, his figure had turned into a blood-red light shooting towards Jiang Kai. The red light, like a cloud of blood, rushed directly to the top of Jiang Kai's head, opened a big mouth, and enveloped Jiang Kai, trying to swallow Jiang Kai. The blood mist that filled the surroundings was full of its evil and violent aura, pulling the brutal factor in the deepest part of Jiang Kai, making his eyes red. Jiang Kai let out a deep cry. The colorful rays of light were generous, turning into 5 layers of energy armor, wrapping himself. 2 fists flashed with dazzling golden light. In an instant, Jiang Kai's fists seemed to be covered with countless tiny golden fine needles, bombarded the blood cloud wildly. Among the 5 elements indestructible sword, she is like the sharpest metal, the lethality is also the strongest, the defense is the most outstanding, and the 5 elements complement each other in strength and perfection. The thin, blood-red scale armor on Shui Lian was very strong at first glance, and Jiang Kai naturally wanted to use the gold attribute's indestructible sword chi to attack the enemy. The powerhouses who were paying attention to this battle openly and secretly, everyone held their breath at this moment, wondering who is better between Jiang Kai and Shui Lian when buffed by their Sessurit technique. The result was surprising. There was no anxious battle, nor was it still evenly matched in the long entanglement like before. This time after Jiang Kai collided with Shui Lian, Shui Lian seemed to suffer immediately. From the bloody light there were bursts of exclamation and roar of Shui Lian, but Jiang Kai was silent, but everyone could detect that he was launching a fierce attack, and he was merciless. Blood was splashing, and there were faint pieces of scale-like things falling out, which were the scales of Shui Lian. His eyes trembled. It wasn't until this moment that he finally determined that Jiang Kai's attainments in the field of physical strength had surpassed the bloodline of the blood flood dragon, known for its tenacity and toughness. He had looked away thoroughly before. He subconsciously put himself in the position of Shui Lian, thinking about how to resolve the immediate crisis if he is Shui Lian. The result made him pale. Powerless. Really powerless. The real strength of the human race in this second-order void return stage is no less inferior to any third-order realm, and even more fierce than most third-order realms. Even if you go down and fight him alone, there will be nothing good to eat. A fine cold sweat oozes on Bahi's forehead, and the beating of his heart rises. He is completely dumbfounded, and he doesn't know what Jiang Kai's origin is. Such a prodigy, I am afraid that looking at the entire star territory, there is no second one. Little sister, which cultivation star did you say my brother-in-law came from? Yu Shang asked blankly. A low-level star that is very behind in everything. Shan Qingla pursed her lips and smiled. You don't know it even if I say it. Lower stars. Yu Shang felt that he couldn't think anymore. Can a human race who came out of a low-level star behave like this? He is strong enough to make all the guys in star territory who think they are geniuses suicide. Well, will Mother let me be in a relationship with him now? Presumably Mother will be very satisfied with this result. Shan Qingla glanced at Yu Shang, smiling enough to upset all the living beings. Sure. Yu Shang nodded his head. If such a human race exists, and the mother is still not satisfied, then no one can satisfy her. In this battle, his brother-in-law has proved his strength to everyone. Shan Qingla stopped talking, looking down dizzyingly, her mind immersed in Jiang Kai's strength, unable to extricate herself. After determining that Jiang Kai had the upper hand, she no longer worried about Jiang Kai, but began to appreciate the battle. A scream came out, and Shui Lian drew back, his eyes filled with horror, looking at Jiang Kai tremblingly. His aura was sluggish, his blood-red scales fell countless, and even the two horns of his forehead seemed to have become a little dim, no longer exuding the dazzling luster as before. What a shame. Being forced into this by a human warrior who was a small level below himself, this is simply a stain in his life. He could not accept such a result. On Monster Emperor Star, he refined his prestige with his blood, and was not afraid of any cultivator under the Void King realm. Even Metian was never put in his eyes. However, this human race with unknown origins has caused him a big loss. How can he accept it? How could he be willing to give up? Human race, this is what you forced me. Shui Lian roared. After speaking, a decisive expression appeared on his face, and a blood-red ball was spit out from his mouth. The ball was about the size of a baby's fist, and contained terrifying power inside. Vaguely, there seemed to be something like a small snake swimming in the blood bead. Shui Lian is crazy. Yu Shang was shocked, and cried out in horror. He actually spit out the inner core. Not good, Shui Lian is desperate. Bah! He also flashed a look of astonishment on his face, and hurriedly shouted, "Stop him!" Having said this, he rushed towards the battlefield. Shan Qingla seemed to have finally recovered, and after a response, followed by he. The monsters of the monster race, whether they are transformed into humans from monster beast or born as with human body, have a special thing like inner core in their bodies. The inner core is the most important treasure of a monster race, and it is the existence of their lives. A monster race cultivator, in battle, unless they're forced to use it as a last resort, they will never use the inner core, because once it is slightly damaged, the consequences will be disastrous. To be continued.